Hello, innovators, and welcome to our final exercise here, where we're going to be looking at a new term. And the new term we'll be looking at in this exercise is iteration. And when you want to think of iteration, it is a verb. Iteration is something that happens. And when we use the word iteration, we often use the word loop as well. So the loop is like the noun, the name, and every time that the algorithm goes through a loop, we call it an iteration. So let's have a look at this example here. And before, a repetition of a process in computer programming where each repeated cycle builds towards a desired result. Okay, let's have a look at this. So, Dad says, don't leave your room until it's clean. Okay, so we'll come down. Now, the room being clean is the condition. And when that is true, you can leave your room. But if it's not, what you've got to do is organize or put something away. And then we loop back around. Now, when you organize and put something away, did that clean the room? If that's no, you're going to iterate around this loop once again. Okay. And you iterate until you achieve that desired result. And the desired result in this example is a room being cleaned. And when that's true, we're out of the loop. So let's have a look at our program here. And let's start off with, first of all, the problem. So you can see we've built on this flowchart. The previous activity, we included branching. And now the next step is to create a new variable called count. And what we essentially want the computer to do is count to the user's age. So I'll click on here. Let's have a look at the program first. In Scratch. All right, I'll hit that green flag. What is your name? So Hope. Your age is 4. I hope you are a young and enthusiastic 4-year-old. Oh, that's lovely. I can count to your age. 0, 1, 2, 3, and finally 4. Pretty cool, huh? Okay, so let's have a look at how we can represent the algorithm or the steps required to complete the task as a flowchart. Now, we've completed, I'll just move this out of the way, zoom in. Now, in the previous 3 tasks, we've been able to complete all the way down to here. So the last task was branching. And if the age is larger than 20, then the computer will output or say this block. If not, it's going to say this block. And where we're going to focus for this clip is right here. Now, if you see this orange block, what does that mean? What is that? It is a new variable. So the new variable, I've just called it count, but you can call it whatever you like. You could call it counting if you like. And I've created a new variable and I've set the value of that variable to 0. So I actually put the number in there. And then the program's going to say, I can count to your age. And here is where the iteration or our loop is set up. And here you can see where it will go through that loop. So what that means is it's going to repeat these blocks, repeat what's happening here until this condition is true. So the count, you can see, is 0. And in the example, for Hope's age, she was 4. So it's going to complete this until the count is the same as the age. So let's pretend the age was 4. It's going to say count for 1 second. And then what it's going to do is change count by adding 1. So let's recap. It's going to say, I can count to your age. And it's going to repeat these blocks until this is true. So it's going to say 0, change it by 1, come back around. And count is now 1. Is 1 equal to 4? No. So it's going to go again. It will say 2. And then it changes count or adds another one. Okay, so you can see how it keeps adding to count until it will count will equal age. And then once that is equaled, then it goes past this block and moves down here. And then it's going to say, and finally, your age. Okay, so just zoom out and I'll show you how to create that. Now, where it's got set or create that variable, let's make a connection. You can see here's a variable from up here, age, set age to answer. So I want to just click on the shape here, hit Control C to copy, and then Control V to paste. I'm going to pop this over here. And the new variable we've got is called count. So count equals, you can see in the program, it equals 0. And might just make it a tad smaller. Okay. And then the program is going to output, it's going to say, I can count to your age. So I'll click on this blue shape here, Control C, Control V, and I can bring this over here. And the program is going to say, I can count to your age. All right. Okay, now watch the way I create the loop, okay, or create a way for the iteration to take place. You see up here it says, just here, where it says repeat until. And you might even get a bit of a hint here. You can see that it kind of looks a bit like a diamond here for that condition. So I'm going to click up here, copy, copy, Control C, Control V to paste. I'll paste this and I'll drag this new one down. I'll move this video out of the way. I'll put that over here. Okay. Now, now the condition here, it says repeat until the count variable equals the age variable. So we don't need a larger than here. We need count equals age. And I'll maybe just reshape that a little bit. Okay. Bring that down here. Okay, so if the count doesn't equal the age, if it's false, it's going to say count, say the number. So I'll copy here. So Control C, Control V. It's going to say count. I might make this a little smaller. We're starting to run out of a bit of space here. Say count. And then we need another square box here because where it says change count by 1 or add 1 to count. So copy Control C, that shape, and then Control V to paste that shape. And I might pop that right there. And then simple count plus 1. All right, so I'm going to connect these lines, and to do that, I'll need to move this out of the way again. So I'm going to connect these output blocks back into this process here. And I use the elbow connector just because it looks nice and neat. Elbow connector again. Click, hold your finger on the trackpad, let go. You can see that that's connected nicely. I'm going to get an arrow here, so drop down, select arrow. Hit this here. Excellent. Okay, and I might move this over a little bit, move that down. Okay, I'm going to use the elbow here because you can see it's got to move to the side slightly. So click and drag to here. And with the elbow connector at the end of that line, just add that arrow there. Cool. And now, count equals age. If the count does not equal the age, then it's false. So I'm going to use the elbow connector. So select that. And if I hover above, I can click and drag, and we're going to have, I'll move this down to here. That works for now. I might even play with that later. But you can see, so if that's not true, it's going to say the count. And then we're going to get the arrow and click and drag up. And then I'm going to get an elbow connector because we're making that loop. So I'll click here. I'll just connect it right to there. All right. So here we've created a loop. It's a very loopy looking loop. That looks a bit better. Okay, so I'll click on that. Just want to drag that. That's right. Excellent. Okay, so I can count your age. Excellent. So if the count does not equal the age, it's going to say 1, for example, then it's going to add to the count variable, come back around, and if the count doesn't equal the age again, it will keep doing this or iterating through this loop until the count equals the age. And when that's true, then it's going to say, just move this, and finally age. Okay, so I'll click on this output here, copy and paste. And when that's true, it's going to say, and finally plus age. Okay, and then we'll have the end of our app. Oops, and I've forgotten to add the name up here. Paste that in here. I need to make it a bit larger so I can fit in. There's quite a lot in this flowchart here. Okay, and when you find yourself creating a flowchart and it's quite complex, let's see, this is becoming quite complex. You might choose to use a different application called Lucidcharts. We'll have a look at that later. But what I need to do is just click on the shape, copy, paste, and we can drag that down the bottom here. Drag this down, double clap, and just add the word end. Next steps are to add the lines. I had all this space out here. Maybe you can make your flowchart a little neater than mine. So I'll click on the arrow, and I'll just add it from the true. You can see that it connects there. I might even see if I can get that there. That looks a bit better. And then the last arrow is to show that this is the end. All right, now this is quite a complex flowchart. And this is an example of how you can achieve the objectives in the rubric at the highest level, okay? So this is your exemplar. Let's run through it one more time. Take 4, input, output, variables, branching, and iteration. Here we go. Ask the user to input their name. Okay, this is the input. What's your name? The answer to that question is stored as a variable called name. We do that again. What is your age? The user inputs their age, and that's stored as a variable called age. The computer then outputs, it says hi, and then it uses the name. Then, if the user has inputted an age that is larger than 20, it's going to say you are a wise plus age year old. If not, it will say you are a young and enthusiastic plus age year old. Then I've created a new variable called count and set the value of that variable to 0. The computer then says, I can count your age. And then we come down to here. Now, if the count, which is currently set to 0, equals the age, then it's going to say, and finally age. But we know that unless someone has entered an age which is 0, we know that if someone has entered an age 10, for example, it's going to run through this or iterate through this loop. So it's going to say count, which will be 0. Then it's going to add 1 to that 0 and then come around and double check. Is the count now equal to the age? If it's not, then it'll say what the count is. So it would be 1 here, add +1. So +1, 3, +1, 4, until the count equals the age. Then it's going to say, and finally, your age, and that is the end of our little application here. So let me show you one more time in Scratch. Whoops. Okay. I'll hit the green flag. What is your name? Christopher. What is your age? I'm 36. Enter. Hi, Christopher. You're a wise 36-year-old. I can count to your age. 0, add 1. Okay, this is going to go for a while, perhaps 36 seconds. But I'm sure you get the idea there. I might even hit stop there. And you can have a play with this app as well by clicking on this image. And when you click on the image below, you'll see that little link, and that's how you can open the application in Scratch. If you've made it to here, you've done an amazing job. You were doing quite well, and you are meeting our learning intentions for this subject. If you've reached that fourth, or you're still watching now, you would understand what input, output, iteration, branching, and variables are. You'd be able to begin to match visual programming blocks to flowchart elements. You're going to be able to understand and begin to explain the logical flow of an algorithm represented as a flowchart and as a visual programming language as well. And that's a big chunk of the learning for the Future Innovators topic or course. So you're doing an awesome job. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye, innovators.